Dear students, today I'll be teaching a new topic, that is protection. Now let us look at the contents of the presentation. So we'll begin with goals of protection, followed by principles of protection, domain of protection, access matrix, implementation of access matrix, access control, revocation of access rights, capability based systems, and language based protection. Let us see what are the objectives of this particular topic. So discuss the goals and principles of protection in modern computer system. Second one, explain how protection domains combined with an access matrix are used to specify the resources a process may access. Third, examine capability and language-based protection systems. So let us understand what is protection, what are the different goals of protection. In the multi-programming environment, the multiple processes are being executed simultaneously. Here, the processes in an operating system must be protected from one another's activity. It means a process cannot interfere in the activities of another process. We all know that for each and every process, a separate address space or memory will be allocated in the physical memory. Here, one process cannot access the address space of another process. It means a process cannot modify the contents of another process if it doesn't have any access permission. So that is why it is necessary to provide protection for the processes in the system, so that one process must be protected from interfering into another process activities. Basically, a protection refers to a mechanism for controlling the access of programs, processes or users to the resources defined by the computer system. In the protection model, a computer consists of a collection of objects. There are two kinds of objects we find in the computer system. That is, first one is hardware, second one is software. The hardware objects can be, for example, CPU, memory segments, printer, disk, and tape drive. So these are the hardware objects. And software objects such as files, programs, and semaphores. So these are the examples we can consider for software objects. Each object has a unique name and can be accessed through a well-defined set of operations. Every object in the system is identified by a unique name and it is accessed through some set of well-defined operations. Now understand what is the protection problem. Here we need to ensure that each object is accessed correctly and only by those processes that are allowed to do so. It means a particular process in the system can access an object if it is having enough access permissions. A process having sufficient access permission can have access to the specific object. So that is the protection we need to achieve in the system. Let us understand what is the principle of protection. So there is one guiding principle for protection, that is principle of least privileges. So privilege is nothing but access permission or access right. So that we supposed to assign for the programs, users, and systems. So these access privileges are used to perform a specific task. So these privileges can be static or dynamic. What I mean by static privilege? So privileges will be assigned to the program, user, or any process. And once a set of privileges are assigned to these, they will remain static throughout their life. So that is called as static privileges. Or privileges can be dynamic also. It means whatever the privileges assigned to either program, process, or user, they can be changed by the process when it is required. So that is called as dynamic privilege. Privileges assigned to the different entities like programs, users can be changed by the process when required. And the dynamic privileges can be achieved by a dynamic switching and privilege escalation. So here we must consider an aspect called as the grain aspect. So there are two kinds of grains here. The two types of grain privileges. One is called as rough grain privilege. Second one is fine grain privilege. The rough grain privilege management is easier, simpler, but least privilege now done in large chunks. For example, if we take traditional Unix process, either they have abilities of the associated user or the root. The second aspect is fine-grained aspect. Here the management will be more complex and it is more overhead as compared to rough grained, but it is giving more protection as compared to rough grained privileges. For example, if you take RBAC, RBAC stands for role-based access control. So this is a modern way of protecting the things in the system. That is what role-based access control. So it comes under fine grained management. It is providing more security as compared to rough grained, but it is a bit complex to implement and it is a bit overhead to the system. Here one thing we have to understand, a domain in the system can be either user, process or procedure. Now let us understand what is domain structure. A process operates within a protection domain. A process or set of processes may belong to a particular domain, which specifies the resources that process may access. So the set of processes are put into a domain, and there will be some access permission for access rights set to that particular domain for different objects. A process that belongs to a particular domain may have access to those resources if it has sufficient access rights or access permissions. Now let us see how to indicate access right. Access right can be indicated through this particular format, that is access right is equal to, so we use a pair of angle brackets. Within a pair of angle brackets, two things we specify. One is object name and access rights assigned to the processes that are belonging to a particular domain. Here access right is basically subset of all valid operations that can be performed on the specific object. For example, in this picture we can see there are three domains which are indicated as domain D1, domain D2 and domain D3. If you look at domain D1, so in a domain D1 there are different access rights defined for different objects. So a set of processes that are exist in domain D1 can have access to these objects for a different access rights. So let us take an example here. The first one, here the object name is O3 and access rights, it is basically set. It is called as a set of access rights or right set. We know that the set is indicated within a pair of curly braces. So this is set, and access rights assigned here is read and write. Here on object O3, the access rights set is read and write. A process or processes that are exist in domain D1 have read and write access permissions on object O3. So they can access object O3 for read or write. Object can be anything, it can be hardware or software. If it is file, it will be a software object, then the process that is exist in domain D1 can perform read and write operations on the file. So similarly, if you look at the second one, for the object name O1, the access rights set are read and write. So processes that belongs to domain D1 can access object O1 for read and write operations. So read and write are the operations for access rights assigned to object O1. So similarly, for object O2, the access permission or write set is execute. That is also called as operation. A process or a set of processes that are exist in domain D1 can have access to object O2 for execute operation. The processes can execute this particular object here. They got the access permission as execute. So similarly, for domain D2, in domain D2, we are setting a write access permission to object O2. A process or a set of processes that are exist in domain D2 can access object O2 for write operation. So similarly, in domain D3 there are two objects O1, O3, and access write set for these objects are execute and read respectively. But if you look at object O4, here the access write or operation set here is print here. So which is common for two domains D2 and D3. So this particular object will be shared by two domains D2 and D3. So we can see overlapping of the domains here for this particular object O4. O4 is the object that is common to domain D2 and D3. The processes of domain D2 and D3 can execute print operation on object O4. So the print permission is assigned to the processes of both domains D2 and D3. So this is what the sharing of the operations across the processes in the domains. Now let us see domain implementation. We'll take the Unix operating system. So in the Unix operating system, a domain is nothing but user ID. You know that Unix is a multi-user operating system. Here the multiple users can perform the or execute the program simultaneously. Hence there will be multiple domains exist in the Unix, and each domain is identified by a separate user ID. So domain is associated with user ID in case of Unix operating system. And domain switching can be accomplished with the help of a file system. What is the domain switching? A process that is belonging to a particular domain can be switched to some other domain. That is called as domain switching. A process will be switched from one domain to another domain. So that is called as domain switch, and it can be accomplished with the help of file system. Each file has associated with it a domain bit. Each file in the Unix system will be having a bit that is called as domain bit. It is also called as set UID bit, because in Unix we will take a domain as a user ID. So domain bit is also called as set UID bit, that is set user ID bit. So whenever a process or user wants to execute a file, when a file is executed, so this domain bit or set UID bit is on, it is set here, it is equal to on. Then user ID is set to owner of the file that is being executed. If you want to execute a file, then the user or the process must be having the execute permission. We know that owner of the file will be having all the permissions like read, write and execute permission. So whenever a process wants to execute a file, its domain bit will be set as on here. Then user ID of that particular file is set to owner of the file that is being executed. And whenever the execution completes, UID will be reset. It is made as off. And the domain switching can be accomplished through passwords. So there is a command in Unix that is called as SU. SU basically stands for switch user. So user is basically having a user ID. And what is user ID in Unix? It is nothing but a domain. It means a process can be switched from one domain to another domain. A process can be transferred from one domain to another domain. It means a particular program can be executed with different privileges of the different user's domain. So that can be accomplished with the help of SU command in Unix. So SU command temporarily switches a process to another user's domain. Then after executing SU command, it will ask us to enter the password, user domain password, and after entering valid password, the process will be switched to different users domain and it will be executed in the different users domain. So that is how we can achieve domain switching through passwords in Unix with the help of su command. And also domain switching can be done in Unix using sudo command. So sudo command basically we take it as a sudo is basically prefix that we use for the command. For example, if you want to execute a command like ls, and if you want to execute ls command with a different user's domain, then we'll have to execute command like this, that is sudo ls. Okay, so sudo is a command that allows domain switching. Again, it may ask us to enter the password, that is the other user's password will be asked here. For example, if you want to execute the commands with super user privileges in Unix, that is called as root user, then we can execute sudo command with the root user. Then it will ask us to enter the password of the root user, and after accepting valid password of the root user, domain switching will be done. Then that command will be executed under the root domain. Now let us look at domain implementation in case of multi systems. So in the multi systems, let us take different domains here, which are organized in the form of rings. So these are basically defining, rings are basically defining different security privileges. For example, let di and dj be two domain rings. Let us take two domain rings in case of multis, like di and dj. If j is less than I, then di is subset of dj. For example, you take ring 0, so that is I equal to 0, that is the domain 0. Ring 1, sorry, ring 1, we shall take it as I here, that is I is equal to 1. I is equal to 1, that is the domain 1. It's indicated as ring 1. And dj, so let us take it as ring 0. Here j is 0. So let us compare j with I. Here j is less than I. 0 is less than 1. So ring 0 is less than ring 1. Then ring 0 is a subset of ring 1. So ring 0 is di. Ring 1 is di, and ring 0 is dj. Then di is a subset of dj. A process which is executing in domain dj has more privileges than does a process executing in domain di. So that is what security rings we can observe in multis. For example, the operating system's kernel will be running in the ring 0, so that is having more privileges as compared to other domains. And the user process may, or user applications may run in the outer ring here, so that is having the less privileges as compared to kernel programs. Now let us see what are the benefits of multis and limitations. So multis basically provides ring or hierarchical structure provided more than the basic kernel, user or root or normal user design, and it is bit complex and more overhead onto the system, but does not allow strict need to know. So that is object accessible in domain dj but not in domain di, then j must be less than I. But then every segment accessible in di also accessible in dj. Now let us move on to the next topic, that is the access matrix. So it is basically a protection matrix, that is a view of protection is indicated as a matrix, so that is called as access matrix. We know that access matrix or any matrix is made up of rows and columns. So access matrix in access matrix rows represent different domains, and if you take the Unix operating systems, domains are nothing but user ID or different users. So in access matrix, rows are representing domains, columns are representing objects. So then we define the access rights from a particular row to a column, from a particular row to particular column. So that is called as access. Access can be defined like this: access of I comma j is a set of operations that a process executing in domain di can invoke on object j. So that is how we can define access from I to j. Now let us take an example for access matrix. So in this matrix we can see the rows are the domains. So domains are indicated as D1, D2, D3, D4. So this particular access matrix consists of how many domains? 4 domains. And the columns are indicating objects. So objects that are exist in the system. I already made it clear that object can be either hardware or software. Here the first 3 columns are basically software objects, nothing but files, file F1, file F2 and file F3, and there is an hardware object, that is a printer. It means the rows are indicating the different domains and the columns are indicating the different objects in the system, and this matrix is providing the access rights for the processes which are executing the domain on the different objects. For example, the processes that are exist in domain D1 has read permission on F1. It means processes of domain D1 can perform read operation on file object F1. So similarly, processes of domain D1 can perform read operation on file F3. So read access right is assigned to the processes of domain D1 on F3, and no access rights have been assigned for the processes of domain D1 for the objects F2 and printer. So similarly, for domain D2, the processes of domain D2 has print permission on the printer. So print operation can be performed by the process of domain D2 on the printer object. So similarly, if you look at D3, here we have a read and write execute permissions for the processes of D3 on the file objects F2 and F3. In domain D4, the processes will have a read write permission on F1, read write permission on F3. The processes of domain D4 can perform read write operations on file objects F1 and F3. Now let us see use of access matrix. If a process in domain Di tries to do some operation on object Oj, then object must be in the access matrix. The user who creates objects can define access column for that object. So user who creates object is called as owner. Owner can define any kind of accesses for the object in the access column. Can define expanded dynamic protection. Okay, in case of dynamic protection, operations to add delete access rights is possible, and there are some special access rights like owner of object I, and there is another operation called a copy operation from object OI to OJ, which is generated by asterisk. Means an access right access right can be copied from one object to another object. So that is denoted by asterisk. So there is another access right, that is control access right. Here domain DI can modify access rights of domain DJ. So that is called as control operation or control access right. Here domain DI can modify access rights of DJ. It means processes of domain DI can modify the access rights of the processes that are existing DJ. And the next access right is transfer. It is basically switching of the process from one domain to another domain. For example, switch from domain DI to DJ. Here copy and owner applicable to an object, control is applicable to only domain object. Here access matrix design separates mechanism from policy. Let us try to understand what is mechanism and policy. What is the difference between mechanism and policy? So let us consider mechanism first. Here in case of access right mechanism or access matrix mechanism, operating system provides access matrix plus access rules or permissions. If it ensures that the access matrix is manipulated by authorized agents and that rules are strictly enforced. And let us see how is the policy. Policies are basically defined by the user. So user can be super user like root user in Unix, or it can be any other user. So basically user dictates policies. Who can access what object in what mode will be decided by the user's policy on the access rights. Now let us take one example here, that is access matrix with domains as objects. In the earlier example we considered only domains as rows and objects as column. So in this particular example the domain itself is acting as an object, and what are the operations we can perform on different domain objects or access rights we can set for the different domain objects we shall discuss here. So in this particular matrix there are 4 domains, D1, D2, D3 and D4, and there are different objects like file objects F1, F2, F3. So there is a printer object, that is a laser printer object, and followed by we can see D1, D2, D3, D4. So the columns D1, D2, D3, D4, these are the domains acting as objects. So we have taken domains as objects. So these domains have been taken into the columns. Here let us look at the operations or access rights. Process of D1, domain D1 has read permission on F1. Processes of domain D1 can perform read operations on F1 and also on objects F3. And if you look at switch here, what I mean by switching, it's basically called as domain switching. Processes of domain D1 can be switched to domain D2, that is what switch operation. So similarly in the second row, that is for domain D2, so there is a print operation set for the laser printer object. Processes of domain D2 can perform a print operation using the laser printer, and also switching will be done for a domain D3 and D4. For domain D3, read execute permissions for file objects F2 and F3 respectively for the processes of domain D3, and last row for domain D4, read write permissions for F1, read write permissions for F3, and there is a switching possible from D4 to another domain D1. So the switching for different domains is indicated here. Hence the domains are acting as objects to indicate switching operation. That is called as domain switching. Now let us see access rights with copyrights. Let us understand what is copyright. The ability to copy an access right from one domain or row of access matrix to another. It is an ability to copy an access right from one domain of access matrix to another domain, which is generated by asterisk. It is appended to the access right. So asterisk will be appended to the access right. So if you look at this particular example here, so in this table, access matrix table, there are three domains D1, D2, D3, and the three objects F1, F2, F3, and there are different access rights set here or operations set here for the processes of different domains on the file objects F1, F2, F3. Here, processes of D1, D2, D3 has execute permission on F1, and processes of domain D2 have execute permission on F3. Here, process executing in the domain D2 can copy read operation into an entry associated with the file F2. Okay, so the read operation for domain D2 on file F2 is indicated as copyright operation. It is basically recognized copyright, which is indicated as asterisk. This asterisk indicates it's a copyright. It means a process which is executing in domain D2 can copy this read access right into an entry associated with F2. It means a process in domain D2 can copy this read access right to any location in column F2. Means here also we can set the read, and here also we can set the read, as we can see in table B here. So the access right for domain D2 on file F2 was read here, and it has been copied to this particular location. It means processes of domain D3 has a read access right on F2. So the copyright is basically in this example is any process that is executing in domain D2 can copy read operation or read access right into an entry associated with F2. So the entries which are associated to F2 are this one and this one, where a process in domain D2 can transfer the copyrights. Now let us look at access matrix with owner rights. Here, if access of I, j includes the owner right, then a process executing in domain Di can add and remove any right in entry in column j. Let me repeat it once again. If access of ij includes the owner right, then a process executing in domain Di can add and remove any right in any entry in column j. So let us look at this particular access matrix. There are three domains D1, D2, D3. There are three objects F1, F2, F3, and there are different access rights set here for different processes of different domains on the objects F1, F2, F3. Here, if you look at domain D1, for object F1, it is set as owner here. Owner executes. The operation of permission set is owner executes. That is processes of domain D1 can execute file F1. Who can execute? Only owner of the file can execute. It means domain D1 is the owner of F1 and thus can add or delete any valid right in column F1. Okay, so domain D1 is basically acting as a owner of file F1. So this owner can execute file F1, and also it can add and delete any valid access right in column F1. That is, domain D1 can set access right for these two locations. So similarly, we can observe here domain D2 is the owner for F2 for the operations read and write. So domain D2 can add or delete any valid write in column F2. Now let us look at modified access matrix that we already discussed. Here a process executing in domain D2 could modify domain D4. So this particular matrix, so there is something called a switch that we already discussed, and there is something called a switch control. What is switch control? A switch control is set here for a domain D2 on domain D4. It means any process that is existing in domain D2 or executing in domain D2 can modify access right of domain D4. It can modify the access right of domain D4. Thank you.